Hi again. I'm going to share with you different moments or stories to help me better understand how life works, what organizes, what heals, what animates, motivates, coordinates, inspires us. How we could be more rather than moving away from something and looking up less of something. Well, why do you want to exercise? To increase efficiency, you're looking really to avoid cardiovascular disease or looking away you don't like. Why are you taking blood pressure medication or treating your condition, whatever it is? Are you looking to avoid dying or being ill? Or are you looking to optimize your life? Are you looking to avoid the latest fear of boogeyman or monster in invisible forms such as bacteria or virus or stress or whatever you call it? Are you looking to optimize your immune system? Are you looking to work on your relationship so you're comfortable? You feel like you're enough? Or you're looking to expand your relationship and intimacy with a soulfulness that's unbelievable and let other people figure out whether it fits in or not as you live as life could ask you to live. Every case, you either make a choice to want less of something or more of something. The universe is abundant. You're always going to get more of what you don't want, or more of who you are, what you must have and be. Well, this is a story of someone who came into my office, my chiropractic office, 1980s, early 1980s, that opened me up. I didn't know it was going to open me up then. I just knew this was weird. And by the way, weird is a new extraordinary. So weird that adds energy and helps people is great. Weird that detracts is not. So, a woman had come to my office. She had systemic lupus erythematosus, which is an autoimmune disease. She had rheumatoid arthritis. Her joints were gnarled and she had difficulty opening and closing her hands. She was in her 30s. And I made some assumptions in practice. We always make assumptions, but I actually questioned my assumptions and said, if I believe this assumption, where will it lead me and where will it limit me? So the assumption I made is that the body somehow reflected and reflects your history. Your anatomy reflects your history and also your destiny or legacy by the potential expressed within it. And any time an experience happens that we cannot fully be aware of as it is, as an experience, not the interpretation, it's an energy, we can acknowledge its energy first, interpretation second. And we accept that if the energy and the tone and the vibration is this way, well then, that's the natural outcome. So I was feeling people's spines, palpating the spine and feeling it. And being an art history major besides a biology major, I understood things that most scientists don't, but artists knows. If my neck is like this, and my body is like that, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to see the world in an angry way. I'm not going to see joy. I'm not going to see happiness. And my physiology will do that. If I'm doing this, my head is forward, there's pressure here. I'm pulling on the brain stem and I'm putting pressure in the nerve supply of the heart. My cardiac system's going to be difficult. That area is going to be angry. The heart's going to really be angry and have angry responses. If I go in like that instead and I drop in like that, my ribs collapse a bit. I can't get air out of my lungs. I'm going to feel like I can't resolve things. What can you do? How many Jewish mothers does it take to change a light bulb? None. That's okay, son. I'll just sit here and read in the dark. that energy. It changes the brain chemistry. The diaphragm tightens. You can't get enough of breath. You can't resolve things. So I'm like this, and I'm stoic at that point. This is not the time you're going to tell me that you borrowed my car without my permission, you smashed it up. You're not going to do that. I'm not going to be so flexible in my response. This is not the time when I'm like this to say, I want to talk about some change in the relationship. It's not going to work. The shape, position, tone, and tension, the spinous relationship between the shape, tension, tone, and the way you experience your life. So I would feel people's spines. I look at their posture and say, what is emotions that represent what probably happened in their life? Because posture is your spatial orientation of how you see the world. So I look at that and I say, wow, what's happening to this person? She came in like this. She had her hands clasped like this between her legs, and she would not even look me in the eye. I felt the spine. The muscles showed me that a stress pattern that she could not accept, she cannot be with. I don't mean accept what happened, accept the energy that keep reproducing it, the pattern. So I said, something happened to you maybe 16, 17 years ago that brought you shame. I said shame because at that time, my saying, were you raped around that point that had sexual abuse at that time? That was not the conversation for a doctor to have and a chiropractor to have at that time, just wasn't. And culturally, it wouldn't have been seen the same way in most places. In a psychologist's office, yes, but not for me to talk about that. So I said, what? Her body was collapsed, it was in. She wasn't looking me in the eye. So I took shame. Now, I also looked at the posture. The posture would be probably some poor self-esteem. That probably was shame. Probably some type of abuse that the abuse did not cause it. It's not moving past that pattern. Now, people say, oh, there are traumatic memories stored in the body. Nonsense. Poppycock. It doesn't exist. What's happened is the tension patterns, the resonance of the body, just like thoughts are not in your mind, they're in the space or field around us. The nervous system connects to the field and interprets. That posture means this much energy, and it'll interpret the thoughts associated with the tension, tone, and energy, and play the app for shame, or for grief, or for anger. It's not the body, but through the body, these things can change. So, if you look at a tree and you cut it down, you count how many rings are in the tree, you know whether it's how old the tree was. And that year was a good or bad year in the forest. Well, I said, what if the spine is like a tree? And I could feel what's going on. I started feeling when someone said, I lost my mother. It was the most difficult thing for me 10 years ago. I was raped 20 years ago, this happened. And I would find patterns like that. After a while, seeing many people and asking questions, not just about the symptom. If you're ill, why do you think you're ill? If you're well, why do you think you're well? What's working for you? What's working against you? What's happened in life that brought you to this point? What must happen? What's your pain? What's your joy? Those questions help a person to individually see things differently if more things are important. So I saw patterns. So I said, well, this our spine, the muscle tension pattern was from emotional mental stress. The whole spine collapsed in that position. I know she has autoimmune disease, and so there's probably an emotional, physical, psychological factor going on in the body. I know the spine is an organ of emotion and of consciousness. So piecing those things together, I said, well, about 16, 17 years ago, did you have an event that brought you shame? She turns away and said, no, Dr. Donny, not that I can remember. And I'm standing over here. Well, I wanted to take care of her, okay? And I loaded her on the table. And the type of adjustment I was utilizing at the time, which has evolved, still involved a very gentle touch. If I assume the organizing wisdom is the organizing wisdom of creation, it just with a nudge, a reminder. Like an erogenous zone, just a touch, it changes the whole thing. These are helogenous zones, a gentle touch where the spinal cord attaches to the vertebra in the neck and the lower back, which determines the tension, tone, and emotion of the whole body. In that spot, the body can recognize itself and reorganize. When a living system observes what's really going on, the same forces that made the sun, moon, the planet, and made us from two cells into one and create us, it gets to do what it does with what I call creation's codes. The energy that creates the physical body, the ligaments, the bone, the joints, the tissues of the body, that gives the ability to respond, such as emotion or immune system, to help you think, whether it's a think of thinking, to help you optimize and to experience the spiritual reality of all of life. That is brilliant. So I held a very gentle touch in the lower neck, waiting for the vertebra to start rocking or moving, starting to show that something is changing. The stable pattern that's keeping the same way is starting to say, maybe something could change. Have I seen how I put my neck on today? And my spine is, and my brain and body is connected? Unconsciously, it does that. And she jumped off the table. She punched me again. She bit me. She jumped onto the floor, and I had like a shag carpeting, a little pasta on the floor. I was very proud of it at the time. And she gets up, get off me, get the F off me. And she punched me, she's screaming at me. She's punching somebody there. She's gagged, she's cooking, she's vomiting, crying. Well, I ran out of the office. Okay, I ran out of the office. Into the waiting room. Everyone was leaving. Talked to my receptionist. I left her in the adjusting room. She said, what did you do to her? What did you do to her? She looked at your face. And my eye was already starting to close, was starting to swell. Vampirella bit me, there's some blood there. And all I could think at level of development I was at that point is crazy bitch. That's all I could think. I'm also from New York. I was practicing in New York. It was such an emotionally impactful thing. Something big was happening. I knew a person has to go through the same stage in getting well as they went through getting sick, but they have a different meaning. So you can say, wow, I haven't felt this pain in my shoulder. I haven't had an asthmatic attack in 20 years. I said, yeah, well, I know what you feel. How do you feel? I said, well, I'm actually observing and feel pretty good because you must go through the same stages, the same tension patterns, the same resonances, but with more energy, you give it different meaning. In order to have healing, there must be a different meaning, or it's just treatment. And treatment and healing are two different things. Treatment and conditions don't create healing. No doctor teaches you to heal. That is your authority. That's your domain. Healing is being whole. Healing is being more, not less. Hopefully, the treatment will inspire your healing process, or sometimes in spite of the treatment. No doctor's trained to heal. They're trained to treat, to restore you to prior minimal state. I have no intention of restoring someone to a prior minimal state. Hey, I've been seeing Epstein for 14 years and, I'm still minimal. No. That's not what works for me or for life. So I held the contact and she responded this way. The receptionist says, Doc, you have to go back to them. I said, not go back. They go, no. I imagine how David must have felt when with a slingshot, he hit Goliath with third eye, his intuitive eye, and Goliath he was such a big giant, he probably didn't do well in school because he sat at a little desk, he couldn't fit his knees there. Hey, how's that air up there? He felt very inadequate. Here a boy comes to take the great Goliath, who knew all these strategies, like the whole NFL playbook. He knew there was a brilliant strategist, besides being a big guy. And his neck was probably in this position looking down at everybody, which created mechanical tension, made him feel like he's not enough, and all the serotonin levels, etc. And then David goes like this, boom, hits him right there. I'm the Lord of hosts, Lord, I'm gonna kill you and have your head. Yeah, right. Boom. His intuitive eye was blocked. He fell down. Could you imagine? I felt like David probably felt, what do I do now? He had to take Goliath's sword and he had to cut his head off at that time. And only when Goliath's head rolled did all of Israel cheer. I felt that way. I got to go in. But what if he's going, get up and jump me? What's going to attack me more? That's the stuff that went through my mind. Well, I walk in the room, and she's going like this. Opening, closing hands, she couldn't do. Tears in her eyes. And I go, oh no, the smell, the puke on my carpet, what's going to happen? It's crazy, bitch. That's what I was thinking. Something magical. Thank you, no, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm free. Well, I knew something happened. I knew the philosophy of things, and I was picking together models. And this before Deepak Chopra's books came out, and I took the concepts of science, philosophy, spirituality, all different models, and put it together. I said it knows when life shows up, this happens, but it doesn't belong to any box or discipline. This is real. This is the game of life. Well, I did a thermal scan of her spine, and I saw how things changed, her structure changed, her posture changed, her gait changed, her breath changed. Well, she came in next visit, and she said, Doctor, she looked at me around the eye, Doctor, I told him to hold my hands. Remember you said 16, 17 years ago to have some shame? I didn't remember it. Do you know what I do for a living? I said, yeah, you're a social worker. She says, yes, I am. I'm doing that, I assume, for my own wounds. And tell me more, I said. The most difficult thing for the masculine energy, say the feminine energy, is tell me more. So tell me more. She said, yes, 16 and a half years ago, right between those 2 points you told me when the trauma happened, my stepfather raped me. I just blocked it out and remember it. And I remember it now. And I remember it now. And she's smiling. Crazy bitch, she's remembering and she's smiling. The next session she came in. I took care of her a couple of sessions after that. And a gentle touch on her spine to help this brain body to reorganize, the organizing force of life could establish a new baseline. Not getting rid of something, but seeing that those distortions were self-organizing and resolving to a higher order. She said, started giggling. Most precious, innocent girl would giggle. And I said, what's going on? Because I started saying, there's a lot going on. I heard the philosophy, but no one showed me how it shows up in life. No one told me what an ideal spine and nerves are supposed to look like. No one told me what an optimal, they told me how to correct stuff. But correction is not what it's about. No, it's optimizing what life could do through my discipline and in my life. So I said, well, what's going on now? Because I was patterning out what happened when the neck went back, certain thermographic readings, certain structural changes, what happened, the way she experienced the world, and conscious to pattern out, which would become my network spinal systems, my 12 stage of healing, and will lead to my energetic applications also. This is the early beginning of it. And she said, well, I forgive him. I forgive who? My stepfather. What did I say? In my infinite, immature masculineness, you can never forgive the bastard for what he did. He should die and rot in hell. I said, no, you don't understand. No, I didn't. Because that means I may have to have the same relationship with patterns that I was holding or being with, which was give me an excuse not to be more, love more, share more. Oh, shit. She comes her next visit. She sits down with me in the office, visit people all over the place in the office. By the time I left private practice in New York in 1992, I was seeing myself maybe 900 some visits, maybe 1,200 visits a week. And so at that time wasn't that busy, but I would see a lot of people. And she sat down with me and held my hand. I have to tell you this. And this is the big point for today. remember I told you I forgave my stepfather? I said, yes. And you said, why you should rot in hell? I said, well, I'm embarrassed for saying that, but I understand that. I would have thought the same thing. She said, maybe you should get the same change in your spine as I got in mine. Oops. So she said, I forgive him. And you must get this. I said, tell me more. Do you know what I do for a living? I said, well, you're a social worker, but you know what? I work on the helpline. He didn't wound me. I said, sure, no. I know it's all a disease you had and everything from that. No, I didn't get from that. I got it because I didn't do something better with that. You opened the channels for me. He gave me my destiny. I said, he did? He said, yes. And I realized that as the energy went through the spine more effectively, with a wider bandwidth, more information, the spine was healthy, the brain-body connection was healthier, the vibrational wisdom of all the creations that can manifest by this mental impulse, this organizing wisdom, how it personalizes this organizing signal for your own signature of your body, your health, and your healing, which I would later develop means of it actually creating that consistently. Well, when that happened, with more energy, with healing occurred, with a different spinal tension pattern, and many other factors happening, she went from wound to gift. I said, wow, if everyone could do that. Well, the next visit she came in, and she said, well, my stepfather, called me after last visit. The first time in 16 years. He called to apologize. He said that he was having alcohol and drug issues then. He and my mom broke up not too long after that. Well, I knew that, she said. She said, what I didn't know is his life went a downhill spiral. It's downward. What she did not realize until yesterday was that his life went in a downward spiral. He was about to take his life. He called her to say, please forgive me. My life has been destroyed. It's now what I did was unforgivable. And he was going to take his life. And she said, Daddy, I already forgave you. What you do is horrible. Should never happen to anyone. So I condemned you for years. Then I forgot about it. But it gave me my destiny of how I would help so many people. As she changed spine, it changed life. But not just for her, for a bigger dynamic. She was in my care for about 4 years later. Oh, by the way, for 4 years more, by the way. From that day on, her rheumatoid arthritis was in remission. And a few weeks after that, systemic lupus. They wouldn't say it's gone. They said it's remission, a long remission. There. It went on vacation. And I'm sure if she went back to the same energetic and structural patterns over time, those things would experience the world in a similar way. It might have happened, but it didn't. I realized there's no such thing as individual healing, no things a person getting sick individually. It's always in a we, in relationship to others and how we respond and the energy we bring or take from that and how our body represents the interface between that. And chiropractic, actually, and I say that as compared to chiropractors, because most of this is not being taught in schools. Doctors don't learn about healing or the magic of healing. Even natural immunity is not being discussed in the current conversation. So it's very, very simple here. And the simple aspect is as you have enough energy for organizing wisdom, you organize in a higher order. Healing is physically, emotionally, mentally, socially, spiritually. The access point to all of that is fun. It's not the only answer, but it's the answer that I learned was the answer I received in my life, and I help people to learn to do. Chiropractors may do many things. Medical doctors may do many things. And I'm speaking about the original principle that turned me on. I dedicated my life to, and thousands also have done the same way. I believe all the professions will be changing as all systems will be changing. And this helped me realize that one person adding light to the world affects us all. It's said in Talmud, Jewish scripture, when you save one person's life, in the end, that saves them all. Blessings, and thank you.